Hello friends, Radhe Radhe and Jai Shri Krishna. Welcome back to the Mythic Mind. Today we are going to talk about something that many people have felt, but very few people speak about it. The feeling of not belonging. The feeling of being overlooked, unseen, or at times unwanted. And perhaps no character in Mahabharata understood this feeling better than Karna. Before Karna became one of the greatest warriors in history, he was simply a child placed in a basket and set afloat upon a river. Born to Kunti through a divine blessing, Karna entered the world carrying extraordinary gifts, but he also entered carrying a burden, the burden of being abandoned. Why? Because Kunti was afraid of society, of judgment, and of shame. So she decided to let him go. Perhaps that was the first wound in his life, a wound that he would carry forever. But he was raised by a loving charioteer's family. He grew up with affection, but deep inside he always felt different. He could not explain why, but somewhere within him he felt that he did not belong. It is rightly said, कभी कभी जीवन की सबसे गहरी चोटें शरीर पर नहीं लगती, वो आत्मा पर लगती है. This means sometimes the deepest wounds are not carried by the body, but they are carried by the soul. As he grew older, his talent became impossible to ignore. He was brave, skilled, determined, but talent alone could not open every door. He dreamed of becoming a great warrior, so he decided to approach Guru Dronacharya, the teacher of princes, the teacher of Arjun. Karna did not ask for kingdom. He did not ask for wealth. He just asked for knowledge. But instead of acceptance, he received rejection, not because he lacked talent, not because he lacked discipline, but because of who the world believed him to be, a charioteer's son. Imagine that moment, to be told that your birth mattered more than your ability, to be judged before you were even given a chance. It is truly said, कभी कभी असफलता हमें उतना नहीं तोड़ती जितना अवसर न मिलना तोड़ देता है. This means sometimes failure does not break us, being denied an opportunity does. And perhaps that was the day Karna's loneliness grew stronger, because he was not rejected for what he did. He was rejected for who people thought he was. But Karna refused to give up. He trained relentlessly, alone in silence, driven by the desire that many people understand, the desire to prove himself. When he finally stood among the princes to display his skills, he challenged Arjun himself. And for that moment, the world witnessed his greatness. His arrows flew with precision. His confidence was undeniable, and the crowd stood amazed. But instead of admiration, he faced humiliation. They did not ask about his skill. They asked him about his birth. They did not question his talent. They questioned whether someone like him belonged there. And perhaps that moment changed him forever, because rejection leaves a mark, especially when all you wanted was acceptance. Then in his life came Duryodhan, the first person who looked at Karna and saw his worth, not status, not birth, nor his caste, just his worth. In front of everyone, Duryodhan crowned him the king, and in a single moment, he gave Karna something he had searched for his entire life: a sense of belonging. Imagine spending your entire life standing outside every door, and then finally one person invites you in. It is truly said, जिसे जीवन भर अपनापन न मिला हो, वह एक स्वीकार करने वाले व्यक्ति के लिए सब कुछ दे देता है. This means someone who spends a lifetime feeling unwanted will give his or her everything to the person who finally accepts them. And perhaps that is why Karna's loyalty never wavered, even when he knew the consequences, even when destiny stood against him, even when the truth was finally revealed. When Kunti finally told Karna the truth, that he was her son, that he was not an outsider, that he belonged with the Pandavas. But unfortunately, it was too late. Because some wounds do not disappear the moment the truth arrives. They have already shaped the person we become. Today, many people live exactly as Karna did. They work harder than everyone else. They constantly prove themselves. They seek approval. They fear rejection. They stay in relationships where they are not valued. They chase success, hoping it will finally make them feel enough. But often, they are not chasing achievement. They are chasing acceptance, because somewhere inside there is still a wounded child, a child waiting to be chosen, a child waiting to hear, "You're enough." And maybe that is why Karna's story still touches us today, because it reminds us that talent cannot heal rejection. Success cannot erase loneliness, and achievements cannot always silence old wounds. He also teaches us something very important, that our worth was never meant to be decided by others, not by society, not by status, not by acceptance, because the moment we depend on others to tell us who we are, we hand them the power to define our value. Perhaps the tragedy of Karna was not that he was unwanted, but that he spent so much of his life trying to earn a worth he already possessed. So ask yourself, how much of your life is spent proving your worth to people who never intended to see it? And what would change if you finally believed that you were enough all along? And perhaps that is the greatest lesson Karna leaves behind. That belonging does not begin when others choose us. It begins when we finally choose ourselves. Stay tuned in for more such videos at the Mythic Mind, where ancient stories connect to the human emotions. Thank you.